Hey, what's up guys? IJ Reviews here. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be trying to rank every single Sonic game based off my perception of them. Now, for the record, this is not going to be an objective tier list. I'm just going to be giving my opinions based off how much I enjoy these games, with maybe some gameplay splashed on top of this, I don't know. This is also going to be the first extended, non-scripted video I've ever done, so if I start a bit, I do apologize for that. I'm not really used to this type of content. All that out of the way, let's begin with Sonic 1. The building blocks, the foundation for what Sonic is today. And while in 1991 it was kind of revolutionary, in 2025 there are many 2D Sonic games that have just done what Sonic 1 wants to do in a much better way. Like, it's kind of crazy, honestly. In terms of where I'd rank Sonic 1, I'd say a C tier is about appropriate for that. Now, Sonic 2, on the other hand, that is an example of how to just completely, elevate a sequel. Like, it's a no-nonsense improvement over 1. It takes out all the really, awkward bits that didn't really mesh with the Sonic philosophy well in 1. It takes those out and expands on the genuinely great stuff that Sonic 1 introduced, while introducing its own concepts like the spin dash. So Sonic 2 is just solid, A tier. No, S tier. Now, Sonic CD is kind of like a what if scenario for the Sonic series, because while Sonic 2 embraced the speed part of Sonic 1, Sonic CD instead tried to embrace the exploration aspect, and it's a bit contentious over which is better. Like, some people like CD for what it is, but me personally, I find it a bit too messy for my tastes. The time travel is kind of whatever, because it's really clunkily implemented in my opinion. The level design kind of takes a hit as a result of it, because it's really vertically oriented with not really enough for me to sink my teeth into in terms of 2D Sonics. I love the vibes of the game, I love the story, and I love the presentation, but everything else is just kind of whatever. In terms of how much I enjoy it though, probably more than Sonic 1, so that's the second C tier for me. Also, in case you haven't noticed, I'm not ranking the Game Gear games because I've not played any of these, and quite frankly, I don't plan to. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This, to me, for many years was, no, still is to me, the best classic Sonic game. It's got everything. It's got a great story and how it's told. It's easily the longest of these classic Sonic games. It introduces multiple playable characters, it has interesting mechanics and varied level design, and overall is just a continuation of what Sonic 2 did. Some might prefer Sonic 2 over Sonic 3, and that's perfectly fine, but to me they're both rather interchangeable, another solid S tier. Sonic Adventure. This is a rather contentious game in the series from what I recall. A lot of classic fans don't really appreciate the ways in which Venture tried to expand upon the series, because in many ways it differentiates itself from the classic games. But to me, in terms of enjoyment, in terms of the core gameplay, in spite of its many flaws, I still think Adventure is quite fun. So I put it an A tier. It's not perfect, and the broken spin dash is kinda busted, honestly, but I don't know what to say. I just really like the flow of Adventure 1, and I feel like had Adventure 1 gotten more time in the oven, it could have been something really special, something that classic purists could have probably sunk their teeth into more, and would just be a better game for it. As is though, it's just a solid A tier for me in terms of enjoyability. Now, Sonic Adventure 2, on the other hand, this is where my tier list is gonna get a little controversial, but despite fundamentally probably being a better game than Adventure 1 in terms of design, I just find it way less interesting. Because, for starters, the speed stages, while frenetic, are kind of linear, samey, and kind of binary in terms of what you have to do. The game will give you an obstacle like jump over this, or hold me attack this. There's not really much freedom in Adventure 2. So the speed stages, while fun, are kind of a downgrade on Adventure 1's for me. The treasure hunting is just really like flawed in terms of implementation because they gimped the radar from SA1, which is really bad. The levels are insanely huge. The hints are very cryptic, and some of the level designs just suck. Like, I don't know who thought what's Knuckles desert stage again? Whatever that is the worst stage. Like, that is the worst treasure hunting stage in the game. I know many people think Mad Space is worse, but that stage just actively angers me with how badly it's designed. And when it comes to the mechs, I don't think the mechs are all that bad, with Eggman anyway. But Tails is a different story entirely. I cannot stand most of Tails' mech stages. So overall, you've got a game that I like a third of it, and the other two thirds of it are just even mediocre, like infuriating to me. So Sonic Adventure, for me at least, goes into C tier. Now, Sonic Heroes, again, this is another unpopular opinion, but as I've stated many times, like probably on my Twitter or my channel or whatever, Heroes is my favorite game in the series because the level design, as I'll elaborate on in the video that will probably come after this, I don't know when. In terms of feeling and level design and just the general like feel of the game, I think it's the closest translation to the classics we've ever gotten. Because look at it like this. There's just the level design is fantastic. I'd say it's probably the best in the series, like at this point. And probably after this point as well, but that's a different discussion. The level design is fantastic. The mechanics are so rich and engaging with so many ways to approach like the same obstacles. The aesthetic is beautiful. The music is phenomenal. The voice acting is superb. The story, while rather simple, is pretty heartfelt. And I don't know, man. I just love everything about Heroes. Like, in most Sonic games, there are like a couple stinkers or a couple things I don't like. But with Heroes, I can barely fault it, if at all. It's rather enjoyable for me. And I just find it really sad that a lot of people can't find the same enjoyment that I do, either because the game is like just not as polished as it should be, or just because of stubbornness. Like, people don't want to like engage with the mechanics and just approach it in a way that it wasn't really designed for. And that kind of sucks. That makes me sad because I think they really had something going with Sonic Heroes. Now, Shadow the Hedgehog. This is a game that's pretty tough. Well, not pretty tough. Like, objectively, it's really not that great, but I don't know. It's a real, like, guilty pleasure game for me. I know I shouldn't like it, but I do. It's like, it's weird to explain. The controls a mess. Some of the objectives suck, like Lost Impacts and the Doom. And the story is completely nonsensical, but in a way, that's why I love it. It's like, I know this is going to be very confusing and probably antithetical to what I've said throughout this entire tier list, but I'm going to put this in like B tier. Like, I really do enjoy playing Shadow the Hedgehog more than the 3 games I've listed in C tier so far, which is probably going to be a controversial opinion, blasphemy, I know, but I'll stick by it, damn it. Now, Sonic 06. I don't know what else there's to say about this game. Like, there's not really much to say that hasn't already been said. It's a disaster from pretty much every conceivable angle. It barely functions. The mechanics are like really undercooked and just unfun. And there's just not much to like get out of 06. However, I do feel like there are good things about this game. Like, it's not a shit like Superman 64 or like E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Because the level design throughout is pretty decent. And Sonic's campaign, most of it anyway, is really fun. Like, even with these limiting mechanics, I can get some enjoyment out of 06. But unfortunately, that's kind of overshadowed by Silver and Shadow, who just are really uninteresting like every way imaginable. So for that, 06 goes into D tier. It should be noted that while P06 isn't on this list, if it were to be on this list, it'll probably be right behind Heroes. Like, I love P06. Like, And what's most impressive, it's the same game, but with just vastly improved mechanics. It's crazy. But enough of that tangent, let's get on to Secret Rings. And this is like an easy F tier. I don't think this is even debatable. Like, Secret Rings fundamentally just does not function. Like, even while playing it on Dolphin, like, for the benefit of the doubt, right? It just was not designed very well. So many controls just don't function. The level design is kind of whatever. The fact that your character's gimped for the sake of giving yourself a false sense of progression is terrible. And just everything about that game is just really awful. The only saving grace is the story. But even still, I don't have to play the game to experience that. I can just watch the cutscenes online. So, in terms of the game, first F tier on the list. Now, Sonic Unleashed. For many, this is a pretty divisive game as well, because half of it is... not half of it, like, I want to say 30% of the game is Daytime Sonic, which is the one style that most people love, and the other is 70% is Werehog and Metal Ship. But personally, I don't find the Werehog to be that bad. In fact, I can find it pretty enjoyable at times. And due to my experience on Twitter, or YouTube comments, or just looking around on YouTube in general and finding videos, there's some really neat stuff you can do with the Werehog that I think can elevate that experience to like be more enjoyable. But as a whole, the Werehog still isn't my preferred gameplay style. But in spite of that, I think the game is strong enough to where it can earn an A tier for me. Like, would I put it above Adventurable? You know what? Probably. I probably would put this over Adventure. Simply because, like, the day stages are so thrilling and so engaging. Like, you really feel like you're Sonic the Hedgehog in this game, and I don't think very few, like, Sonic games have captured that sense. Onto Sonic on the Black Knight. And this is just, like Sonic 1 to 2, this is a no-nonsense improvement over the first game. It removed the stupid motion controls and had you control Sonic with an analog stick. You're no longer on rails, the jump isn't stupidly gimped like before, and overall, things just work much more, like, consistently. However, I would say this would be a pretty, like, average game, maybe C tier, if not for the flying buzzsaw move, which is the most fun thing to pull off, even though it's really simple. So just for that flying buzzsaw move, I think this goes into B tier, probably above Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, Sonic 4. This is a game that's pretty unanimously hated by the Sonic fanbase. Most people hate it for its unoriginality, the lack of, like, faithful Genesis physics, and just overall the sense of it feels like a corporate game. Like, it doesn't have a heart or soul, and most people just really don't like it. In fact, most people put this into like D or F tier. But personally, I don't think it's that bad. Like, it's not amazing or anything, but I can sit through Sonic 4 Episode 1 at least, and just have a decent time. In fact, I'd say it's around C tier because it's not terrible. I do think that it flows relatively well when you get used to like how it controls and the weird ways it kind of butchers the classic mechanics, but whatever. On its own as a game, I thought it's alright. And now we're getting to Sonic Colors, and this is an easy A tier. Like, Sonic Colors is one of those games that at first I thought was maybe a B tier, but as I played it more and more and began to like understand how the wisps work and the creative ways you can use those to like skip portions of the level, and how you can engage with it through like the red rings, which are also cleverly hidden. This is just an amazing game. Like, I love Sonic Colors so much. The only downside to it, I guess, would be the filler levels, but even still, using wisps can open those up quite a bit and make those more enjoyable as well. And for the first time in years, this is like the first Sonic game in 3D that was universally like loved. Like, this is the first Sonic game in 3D I can say is objectively great. And that leads us into Generations, and do I need to say more? Everything I'm gonna say here has already been said, but Generations is just fantastic. The level design is phenomenal, classic Sonic works insanely well, and it's a neat subversion on the classic Sonic gameplay. And modern Sonic is the best of Unleashed and Colors blended into one smooth puree for like and it results in the best Sonic gameplay like ever. Like to me, this is when Boost Sonic peaks. Like I don't think there's any more they could possibly do for the formula than what they did with Generations. Like this was an amazing title, and for a while Sonic was kind of back. And then we get Sonic 4 Episode 2, which again I think is a no-nonsense improvement over Episode 1, which is why I'm putting it in B tier. I think the level concepts are unique, the team-up mechanic is neat, they fixed up some of the physics, and overall just made it like a game with a better sense of flow. Some of the issues are still there, like dash panels, automation, but I can sit through Sonic 4 and enjoy it like no problem. Me, it's a good game. And the same kind of applies to Sonic Lost World. While I'd probably play this over Sonic 4 actually. I do admit it is a very unconventional Sonic game, and if we're ranking it based off how good of a Sonic game it is, this might be in like C, or maybe even like D, just because it's not a great Sonic game. However, as a game, I don't think it's bad. In fact, I think once you get to grips with like how it functions and get to learn the mechanics and like learn how to shave like seconds off your runs with the spin dash and like the spin dash jumping, I think Sonic Lost World can be decently fun. Like I do like this game quite a bit. It does have its issues, of course, like the snowball level is complete garbage, the all the filler levels are garbage in general, and the flicky grinding kind of sucks. But other than that, I think this is a pretty solid title. Sonic Mania. Like, need I say more? Like again, this was just a phenomenal return to form for Sonic, and this is probably like for a good 2 to 3 weeks, Sonic was back on top of the world. The level design is phenomenal, the music outstanding, the sprite art is insanely detailed. Like you can tell a lot of love went into Mania, and in return, I feel that love as a player, and it feels great to play as a result. Now, Sonic Forces, as a game, it's not horrible. Like, it's not a broken mess like 06 or Secret Rings is. It is perfectly functional. However, my issue with Forces is that it feels devoid of any like vision or soul. It just feels like they put assets together and called it a day instead of making something cohesive and fun. And when you compare it to Sonic Generations, a game that pretty much perfected the Booth formula, this is a step down in every way imaginable. So for that, I'm gonna be pretty bold and put this below Sonic 06 in terms of enjoyment. Like, I just don't feel anything while playing it. Sonic Frontiers is up next. Now, this is a game where, on my first playthrough, I loved quite a bit. I liked the traversal from island to island. I liked how open it was. Coming off Forces, this looked like a godsend in comparison. However, over the years, I've come to be aware of like its faults and just its general design not being the best. However, in spite of all its failings, I still do enjoy Frontiers quite a bit. I do think that Frontiers is enjoyable just to go from place to place on the islands. It's like Frontiers is one of those games where I can create my own fun, even if the platforming, like in the base game at least, and the level design isn't like the best. I feel Frontiers Sonic has enough to him to make the playthrough enjoyable, and the story kind of helps in that regard because I wanted to see where things went. Obviously on a replay like that doesn't have as much value because I know everything that's going to happen, so there's not that sense of mystery anymore. But in spite of this being a really flawed and honestly kind of alright open world game, I still enjoy it enough to put it in B above pretty much all of this. Superstars is next, and while another flawed game in terms of like just how it executes things, I think it's pretty fun. Like, a lot of people in the Sonic community seem to be down about Superstars and how like it stagnates the classic Sonic series, and I can definitely see that. Hell, that's one of my biggest complaints about it. But if you just look at it for what it is, which is a 2D Sonic game, this one's pretty fun. In fact, I'd probably put this above all of these, like just in terms of how much I enjoy it. Like, I don't know. It's the only downfall are the bosses and certain like design choices. But other than that, I think Superstars is pretty good. Dream Team is a game I want to play, but I've not really gotten the chance to because Apple Arcade exclusivity, whatever. Pretty dumb. And now we get to Sonic X Shadow Generations. For the sake of this, I'll just like pretend this is Shadow Generations. This is like a really good boost game. It goes back to like the design principles of older ones and thrives. The level design is fantastic. The story is heartfelt. Shadow feels like Shadow, and I feel like I'm engaged with the characters and the little arcs within the story. And the level design is like fun, enjoyable. The presentation is amazing. The bosses are really good. And overall, Shadow Generation is just a really good game. However, as I've played it more and more, there's something about it that's just kind of, I don't want to say pushed me away, but I've become more aware of its fault, of its flaws in a way that I didn't with Sonic Generations. Like when I played this at first, I easily had it over Sonic Generations, but in terms of replay value, I think I might prefer Sonic Generations a little more. Like don't get me wrong, this is still a fantastic game, but as is, I think I probably have it below Sonic Generations for now. Oh, that's no slight because Sonic Generations is still a fantastic game. Okay, alright, I'm back, and I've just gotten a few of the side games that I missed out on, that this tier list missed out on in particular. So, starting with Sonic Advance, an easy, I say Advance is an easy A tier game. Really solid approximation of the classic formula, like, no real problems honestly, besides some dickish level design towards the end. Advance 2, on the other hand, I love this so much more than Advance 1. Like, the emphasis on speed, the boost mode, like, it feels like an evolution of 2D Sonic instead of trying to replicate what worked before, which is an issue I have with so many 2D games that lay on the series. But this one feels rather good to play, and it's rather exhilarating to just speed through. Sonic Advance 3 is where my opinion gets a little controversial again. I don't think this game is horrible, just really flawed, and it's disappointing because in a way, I want this to be my favourite of the Advance trilogy. It's got so much to it. The team up mechanic is neat. I can see like what they're trying to do with the level design, and on paper that's neat. The character in the game is very apparent, but it's all undone by the level design, which I don't know what they were thinking. But there's just so many crushing blocks and so many ways where it feels like I'm dying through no fault of my own. It's very like average. Like I'd probably rather play it over Sonic 4, but much less than any of these. Sonic Rush, on the other hand, that's a solid A tier game. Like this is just phenomenal. The style is amazing. Hideki Naganuma's soundtrack like slaps when you're playing through these like stages. The level design is really solid and encourages you to like go fast, and like it fits the time attack nature of Sonic in that regard. And just a really solid adventure. However, I think Rush Adventure is even better. They fixed up a lot of the core design issues of Rush, like bottomless pits, which one of the biggest issue for me were like kind of an annoyance. They made it so that you're stopping less, and as a result the levels are more enjoyable. And they honed in on the time attack like bit of it even more with new gimmicks that like can potentially increase your boost meter even more, which leads to some really fun like 2D action. In terms of 2D Sonic games, this one's quite a blast. However, if I'm to recommend one game on the DS, like for Sonic, it's Sonic Colors DS. I unironically think Colors DS is a stronger game than the main game itself. And it's hard to articulate why without going into a really deep tangent, but it's basically Sonic Rush, but with wisps, which works really well. Like, I don't know how else to put it, so I'm just gonna move on to Unleashed Wii. Now, while I do like the HD version of Unleashed quite a bit, I can't say the same for Unleashed Wii. And it's a shame because I think the daytime stages are reasonably like on par with what this version of Unleashed has to offer. However, the Werehog drags it down significantly to a point where this is like C tier, and I'm sorry, like it's a shame too because I want to like it more than I do. Like the day stages are so good, it's just the fucking Werehog. Now onto Sonic Generations 3DS, and this is like another like C tier. Like it's not terrible, but it's not extraordinary either. Like it's just all right to me. Like it feels like a lesser version of a console game, which is kind of inevitable, honestly, given how it works. But I don't know. It feels cheap and secondary even by those standards. Like there's fun to be had, but overall it's just an okay experience. Nothing horrible, but nothing mind blowing either. It just kind of meanders. Sonic Lost World, on the other hand, is a rare on the 3DS is a rare case where I feel like whatever the console game was going for, this version this version achieves it in the worst way imaginable. Like everything I disliked or like felt mixed on in retail Lost World is made 10 times worse here, and it's such a pain. As a result, this is the only other game in the list alongside Sonic and the Secret Rings to go into F tier. Like, fuck man, this is just really, really bad. Well, with that being said, this is like my definitive tier list of Sonic games. While it may not be like the quote unquote objective, it might not be the quote unquote objective like quality in terms of like in terms of ranking the like quality and shit. I feel like this is a fairly accurate representation of what I enjoy in Sonic. Although I'd probably put Heroes in like a tier above these, but you know, I'm just trying to be like, I'm trying to illustrate. You know what? No, I'm putting Heroes in a tier above. And yeah, this is basically what I feel about all the Sonic games. Like, there's some really, for the most part, I like a lot of the games in the series. It's just those few games that just drag it down for me. But I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with my tier list, and that's perfectly fine. But if anything, let me know what you think about all these games in the comments. Give me like your favorite games or your least favorite games. Like, I'd be really interested. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time when that fucking Heroes classic video comes out. Like, I don't know, whenever the hell it comes out. But yeah, peace.